Elements of Jazz, your visual jazz experience.
Hi, welcome back to the Infiniti Summer Concert Series. It's your boy, Alan Dubois, representing Elements of Jazz. I'm here with Euge Groove playing tonight, and we're just so excited to have you here, and we just really appreciate you being gracious enough to come and do this interview for us.
Thank you, and thanks for pronouncing the name correctly. You did a brilliant job.
Well, thank you so much. So let's get right into it. I know that you're trying to prep for your show tonight, and I want you to have your downtime so you can get into your groove. So, Euge, tell us about your beginnings in Hagerstown, Maryland.
Yeah, East Coast town, Hagerstown, kind of a suburb of D.C. and Baltimore, kind of caught in between, and a lot of great music going on back there. You know, a lot of my friends were actually listening to a lot of country and rock and stuff, and I was getting the soul stations out of D.C. So I kind of had, a little bit different music background than my friends. In fact, I remember one time at a birthday party, someone gave me, when I was 16, gave me an Eagles T-shirt, and I didn't know who the band the Eagles were.
Oh my God!
But they didn't know who Angela Bofill was, so it was kind of a, one of those sort of things.
Half a dozen ones.
Yeah, so it was a twist on it. Yeah.
So now I understand that you attended the University of Miami. How did that influence your jazz playing?
Yeah, there were a lot of sax players down there at that time, and it was a very forward-thinking school. You know, they had I took a lot of classes in synthesizers and music engineering and studio jazz and recording and that kind of stuff. So where a lot of schools were more traditional, they had more of a forward thinking. So it kind of opened my eyes to different aspects of music, I guess.
Okay. Well, that's interesting because I was reading in your bio. It talked about the University of the Tower of Power. Could you talk to us a little bit about that?
Yeah, I kind of joke about that. I got my schooling at the University of Miami and my education in the University of Tower of Power, and it's true. I mean, I started playing with them. I was mid-20s, maybe 24, 25, something like that, and so they just have all this energy, and they have this preciseness about the band, and so I really had to learn to kind of bring up my thing to what they were doing, and so that's where the real training came from, as far as being on the road and putting out that energy and putting together a show.
Nice, very nice. Now, we joked earlier about Euge Groove. How did you come up with that name?
Yeah, I mean, I really didn't do it. My mother-in-law actually came up with the name Euge. She shortened Eugene to Euge. They're from the South. My family's from the South, so they kind of nickname everything. So I was one of the things that got nicknamed, and that just happened 20 years ago, and it just kind of stuck. And Groove was just a common mispronunciation of my last name, which is Grove. So it just kind of came out of that, just kind of for fun,
Gotcha. Now, your latest CD, 7 Large, that's your first CD that you've produced entirely yourself. Tell us a little bit about that experience, producing it yourself, working with artists, arranging it, and just the overall process and how that made you feel.
Yeah, I mean, I guess if things didn't work out, I had only myself to blame. So there's kind of, that little bit of pressure added. But it was just one of those things. I started out, and normally where I would call in other people at different stages in the writing or whatever, I just kept doing it myself. And I'd go, well, let me see how far I can take this until the entire album was done. So I don't know if I necessarily set out to do the whole thing myself, but I was having fun, and I was liking the way it came out, and I just went with it. I mean, and I guess one thing is, being that connected with, and again, learning from, great producers and engineers over the years, so I learned a lot myself. And so I don't have I have myself here, I have the outcome here, and I didn't have as many things in between. So the outcome was kind of more like what my vision was like. I mean, for better or worse, but it was still, more of a direct connection to the outcome.
Wow, that's amazing. Now, having produced it, how did you go about seeking the collaborations that we hear on the album, and what were some of your favorite duets?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's something that goes back to the writing as well too. There's a song called "To the Nines" that features Peter White, and the whole time I'm writing that, I was envisioning Peter White playing it. The line in the track "Seven Large," I was hearing Paul Brown kind of do that line. So, the blues song, I've worked so much with Jeff Golub. These are guys I've worked with over the years, so I could actually envision them playing the part. So it was kind of natural, and fortunately they agreed to play on it. So that was kind of a first for me, I guess, having that many guests.
Wow. Now, who are your influences in the jazz arena? Who, as a young man, did kind of you want to emulate, and then as you got more seasoned and developed your own sound, who are some of the people that you're like, wow, I really would love to work with this guy?
Yeah, so who turned me on as a young man, and now that I'm an old man, like who's still keeping my attention?
Seasoned.
Yeah, seasoned. That's good. I like that. When I was younger, I guess when I was in college, I studied a lot of classical music, so I actually had some classical sax players that I was really attracted to. But I guess the first kind of pop guys that I got into, David Sanborn, Grover Washington for sure. Then I discovered Junior Walker one day, and like he was the only guy on the planet for me. King Curtis, but I mean, I was so into Junior, and I stole so much from him. I mean, if you really analyze Junior, you hear what I do, you'll hear like me stealing a lot of his licks and stuff in there. So he was hugely influential when I was young. Now to this day, I mean, I listen to young guys. I like listening to singers. I think as I've gotten older, I listen to singers. I love Joshua Redmond, one of my favorite sax players of all time. I think he's one of those guys that really takes a great traditional style of playing and adds amazing contemporary elements into it. So I love him. I love the soul of Kirk Whalum. I mean, there's so many amazing guys that I love to listen to.
Well, you said something really key there. You used the word contemporary. How do you see jazz having changed over the years? And it seems like, there's a core audience that just loves jazz and they're diehard fans and they just want to see it thrive and stay alive. And then the younger generation seem to be more into all this contemporary stuff. How do you see it having changed over the years, and how do you see it just staying fresh and new?
Well, I mean, I hate the purists. I really do. I mean, I got to give it to them because they are stuck in a time period that's never going to come back. And they have all this hate. They're always hating on this and hating on this, and it drives me crazy. If you look up the meaning of the word jazz, there's no real definition. Nobody knows where it came from. And it was, guys 100 years ago making this stuff up. And they didn't have any rules. They didn't have boundary. And now all these elitists like to come in and put these boundaries on it. And it's crazy. It's the dumbest thing ever. So now, if you have these young guys that are coming up and they don't know what the boundaries are, those are the ones that are doing the cool things, So you can't put boundaries on it. And you can't listen to these critics that go, oh, that's not real jazz. And this is real jazz. And they treat it like it's almost classical music in some way. And I get the respect. I get presenting it in an intelligent and educational kind of way. I get that, but you can't put limits on people. Oh, it's not real jazz because it's too bright. It's not real jazz because it's too it's got a drum machine, so it can't be real jazz. You can't put those limits. Miles Davis didn't put those limits on it. So why should these elitists do it? And I think as you make it up and get away from the boundaries, that's where the best work comes out.
That's so funny because they say it's nothing new in Hollywood. Everything's recycled, right? But and that's one of the reasons that I think that we as the fan base appreciate you, and you've had such longevity in this business because you have a unique way of having your sound, but still having a freshness or a fresh perspective to what you do. Could you talk a little bit about that?
Sound. Yes, like you said, I mean, there's nothing new in Hollywood, right? There's no original ideas. I think just the mere fact of all the different influences that I've had is what makes me unique. It's impossible for someone else to have listened to the exact same things that I've listened to. It's just impossible, And I think that the way that those elements kind of add up together, kind of helps, make a unique sound. And then I think throwing the writing into it. I mean, I love writing. I put a lot of effort into it. And again, I mean, I'm not covering other songs, so it's more of a pure effort, I guess, for myself. Again, better or worse, either you like it or don't. But it's it just becomes more of me, and it's just all the influences that I've heard throughout my life. I don't look at it as anything new. It's just kind of mashing all these things together.
Well, you're a very good hodgepodge, and I mean, and you're just such an eclectic individual with such a wide range in your fan base. What is something that you would like to share with your fans that are out there watching in Elements of Jazz? What's something that you would just share with them, either a little known fact, something you know about yourself, or just something that you just like them to know?
Yeah, well, they probably already know I'm a geek. I'm a complete techno geek. I mean, I love computers and technology and sound, and if I wasn't playing the sax, I'd love to be a sound man or an engineer. I mean, I just totally get off on the electronic side of it. Maybe they don't know. I guess my relaxation stuff is cooking and gardening. I like to cook tomatoes and fresh peppers and corn and all that. I have a little garden in my backyard, and I love to cook. I mean, that's my relaxation. I can spend hours and not think about anything but food. So
those are your country roots.
Maybe that's where that comes from. Yeah.
Well, Euge, we just wanted to say thank you so much for taking the time out to do this. We really, really appreciate it, and break a leg tonight.
Oh, my pleasure. I appreciate it. Go shower.